Alright guys, so today we are working on a 2010 Ram 5500 that decided to eat a valve. Now this is a common problem for the 5500s, so if you guys will look down in there, there's a valve, the head of a valve at least, and this motor actually still ran that way. So what we're going to be doing is pulling this motor out, and I have another replacement motor for it. And we'll come over here if you guys want to see. The head is right here, and there is a valve missing, if you guys can tell. So injectors, I guess they got beat up a little bit, so we're gonna get this whole front end pulled off, get this pulled out. I'm pretty much just gonna document what we do to it. So yeah, getting the motor out physically will be the boring part, so I'm probably just gonna jump ahead to where we pretty much blow the front end apart, get this front clip unbolted. I'm getting very familiar with these things now that I've done quite a few. So we will get this thing out, and then I will show you the motor that we have as a replacement. And we are going to be reusing that turbo there. So I'll just have to get a mounting kit for the other motor. So not too big a deal. If it was 1 year older, would have been a lot nicer because the front ends are so much easier. But being that this is a 4th gen, we got to pretty much pull that whole cross member piece off. So let's get to it. It's been a little bit. I got the front end blown apart. Now that I've done a couple of them, it's not as bad, but it's still 4th gen. Definitely going to earn every bit of my labor rate on this one. But AC is set aside. We are not going to be draining that. Unfortunately, on the 4th gens, they thought it was a great idea to combine the trans cooler and the AC condenser. I don't like that because usually I'd throw the trans cooler over here, the condenser over here, and then we got these lines. What I did was I always just cap them. So that way they don't sit here and leak the whole time, because they will. You can see that little dot. We had a lot more earlier. And then got the turbo off because it was just kind of sitting there. And this is something you don't see all the time, these little gaskets. If you do have one on the downpipe, I just put them back on because it definitely doesn't hurt. V-bands are not perfect. So we're going through, getting the torque converter bolts now. It's really easy when it's right there. With the turbo in the way, I was just going to pull this like that, but those bolts are so tight, being that this is an Ison truck 5500. You can see, come over here, this is actually an 18 millimeter bolt. So, and we'll just sit here, spin it over, do the same thing. I cannot put any extensions on this. This bad boy's from 2018, so this thing's getting pretty old. These batteries, the same thing. I'm going to be refreshing some Milwaukee tools here soon. But as soon as you put one of these on there, it ain't breaking it. So just with a little swivel here, and I always electrical tape them so that they stay. I just electrical taped this one and already fucked it up, but it's all good. So we'll get all 6 of them. Those are for the compressor. I think I left, I left one in it. Whoops. We are going to have to trade over the 4th gen water neck onto the new motor as well. So that means I'm going to have to go grab that seal, but not a big deal. I am going to spin this motor over, get the rest of it. And then there's coolant lines that run all the way to the back of the truck. I've got them disconnected, and they're just looped back there. So I'm going to talk to him about deleting those and just capping them off up here. And actually, the new motor doesn't even have those ports anyway, so we'll probably just end up getting rid of those coolant lines in general, how they run right back down there. And they were just looped, like I said, and there was definitely coolant in it, so not really a big deal. And then the trans cooler, I'm trying to figure out if I want to just take them off the trans or somehow find a way to pull them aside, but then you got to route them all nice, and it kind of makes it tricky, and I don't want to break them, and they're just, yeah, I don't know which route we're going to go yet, but we'll see. But we're getting close. These are definitely a lot easier to pull than the Hemis, because you literally come over here and you unplug a bulkhead. That's it. The Hemis, you got to unplug wiring over here and unplug wiring over here. There are a couple of grounds you got to grab, like, you know what I mean, this right here, but that's not really a big deal compared to, oh, there's an alternator nut down there. At least I think that, I'm not sure what that's for, but we'll save it just in case we do need it when this whole thing goes back together. So, let's keep chugging away, and if anybody's wondering, this truck, I believe, has 180,000 miles on it, and, yeah, still ran when it shut it off, so, yeah, I mean, these things will run through a lot of crap. And the cylinder wall is actually, for what it is, do not look that bad. I put this at the top. There's the valve right there. But number 6 looks like it ate something as well. Looks like it ate a grid heater nut. All right, so I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that 3rd gens are the best trucks that Dodge makes, but 3rd gens are honestly the best trucks that Dodge makes. Whoever invented the wiring for these 4th gens and how they put these things together, I just want to talk. I just want to talk. You know what I mean? Like, obviously I wouldn't threaten them with violence or anything like that, but like this wire harness here integrates with the transmission. There's no way to unbolt it. So like I can't sit here and dress this engine up all pretty on the floor. So by the time I put this back in, now I gotta finagle the wiring because that harness goes to this harness and there's no disconnect. On a 3rd gen truck, the cross member, you just take it, you pound it to one side, you cut it, you pull it out, or you split and it comes right out. I think that's the only flaw with the 3rd generation trucks when you're trying to pull a motor or do anything. There's 2 bulkheads up top that just get unplugged. The wiring goes with the motor. No bullshit. And I'm a wiring nut, so I want to put this other motor in and wire it up, make it look all pretty. You know what I mean? Do what I normally do, make the wiring look good and look like factory. And then it's like I got to come in here, and once it's all in, now I got to try to finagle this whole thing through and just Dodge wiring. Now, I'm not going to say, I will say the Hemis are even worse. That Hemi over there was an absolute pain in the ass. This one, not so bad. I was able to get this in, what time did I start? I don't know. I probably got this out in about 3.5 hours. So, I mean, I'm getting my time down. Oh, the only thing I didn't, that's for the transfer case, so we'll move out of that. We're going to be moving the flex plate, the adapter plate, the whole 9 yards, everything to the new motor, because if you guys don't know, this being a cabin chassis motor, they are very prone to losing a valve. That's how they are. So we're putting an actual pickup truck engine, a 3500 pickup truck engine, in this, so it'll never drop a valve seat ever again, in theory. Now, with that being said, 45 and 5500 heads, absolute. I don't know what Ram was thinking or Cummins was thinking when they were making them, but every video I work on a 4th gen, I say it. You guys ask me, why don't I buy a 4th gen or a newer truck? And I'll be honest, that's just my 2 cents. If it was not for the 06, 07 Rams, I wouldn't even own a diesel truck. It's just, if you take pride in your work and you're pulling motors and you want to put stuff back in, it just kind of saddens me that these 4th gen trucks just make that impossible. Like, it's so nice just to sit here and dress a motor up. I don't know, it just tickles something in my autistic brain. But then when I got to put it all in and it's half missing and then wire it in the truck, it just, I don't know, it just takes the joy out of it. I mean, it is what it is. It's not that bad. This motor definitely had a grid heater bolt go through it at some point. So the other motor, we're going to be doing holy shit. Damn. The other motor, we're going to be deleting the grid heater. This one had a valve smack. That one looks good. That one had something hit it. This whole motor's had just pieces and parts. That's a piece of something. Is that my wrench, or is that one of their wrenches? Let's see. Oh, I can't. Come on. That is one of their wrenches. So, as I throw it on the floor, I'll put that in their parts pile. Now, this is going to be a farm truck, or was a farm truck. They've got all the bits and pieces back here. So, I have to go through all that, and I'm going to tell you guys. If I'm doing a motor for you guys, now, me and him already had this conversation because he said the head was already off. Not a big deal. But if you bring me a truck, it is going to be the same price whether you have pulled the motor or you haven't pulled the motor. And the main reasoning is because even though I don't have to do the labor of pulling the motor, I now have to go through and organize your parts and figure out what is where. And no matter how organized someone is, everybody has a different style of doing it. Now, me and him already talked about it. He pulled the head to verify everything, and I told him that was perfectly cool, right? It's still the same price, whether the head's on it, whether the motor was out, the whole 9 yards. So Not really a big deal. The majority of the parts are there. We're going to be using the parts injectors. Intake horn here. There's a bunch of parts. Everything he said was labeled, so I just got to go through everything. Told him I want this thing done by the 1st. Yeah, so there's a lot of the parts, and it's nice that it's a flatbed because all the stuff back here. So next step, I'm gonna do this all in one video. That is not my handprint. That is not my handprint. None of that's mine, so don't give me shit in the comments. But next step, you will see the motor next to this one. I'm just pretty much gonna set them right next to each other. As cool as it would be for me to just go through and be able to finish this all in one day, unfortunately, I do have other customers coming in. So I need this bay over here. And I mean, that's why I kind of keep that bay open. So I'm gonna do what I can, get this thing as tidied up as possible, as much as I can. And this being an Ison truck, this is the first one where I've ever pulled a motor in an Ison truck. So it's definitely different. Those transmissions are great. I don't care what anybody says. I love the Ison transmissions for a good work truck. Not great for a, you know, high horsepower truck, but really good for a work truck nonetheless. So, and then all of this wiring and BS, I don't know. It just makes me sad is all. I don't know. I like to organize and, you know what I mean, make wiring look factory and just make sure everything looks pretty and you know what I mean? But it is what it is. Nothing we can't handle. And all right, let's skip to the next step of throwing everything together. All right, so we got both motors next to each other. Got the valve cover off of this one because I'm pretty much going to be reusing everything from this motor. So valve cover, intake plenum, the whole 9 yards. Well, not the intake plenum, because I did verify they are both the same. So, how you guys want to grid heater delete these things is up to you. These come right out with a couple of bolts. One there, and then one on the other end. And it's up to you if you want to cut this out and do this and that and make it all fancy. Realistically, there's no point. I mean, well, there is, but this is strictly a work truck. So, I drilled that out for a 1/8 by 27. Usually we'll do a 1/4 inch, but that's what I had in stock right now. So we got that all done. This sensor is all the same. So what you'll want to do, if you're gonna, I'm using the one from that motor. And if you guys come over here and you look, see that grid heater? See that sensor? And see that sensor? That one's blocked off and that one's good. So that means that this can be used on that. So we're gonna get this thing torqued down. We are using a metal gasket. So before I torque this thing down too, I wanna give it a nice vacuum out of there. Get all this nice and cleaned out. Nice new gasket right here. Get that torqued down and then we can put the fuel rail on. But I wanna get all of this wire harness off, get this fuel bowl off, get the back, all that stuff off. And if you guys notice, we're gonna reuse this riser right here as opposed to the other one, because if you look on the other one, there's a piece that comes back here and goes all the way to the back of the truck. I can show you right here. Those two lines right there are coolant lines, and they have them run to the back of the truck and looped. So to save them the effort and not having to have these two things here, we're just gonna eliminate them so that way they don't go to the back of the truck and loop. I'll show you. I don't know. You guys let me know what this is for. Obviously, this ain't stock, but curl under here. You can see right there, those lines. We're going to pull all that out. What is that for on these 2010 5500 pre-def trucks? And then we're going to get the fuel bowl from this one moved over. Get rid of this fuel bowl. See how this one bolts to the head? This one bolts to the block itself. So trying to take everything from the truck and put it on this motor, including the adapter plate. We're gonna pull off the factory adapter plate that doesn't have the bullshit on it. We're gonna put this stuff on it. Same with up here. And then the flex plate, all that. The rear main on this thing was done, so we're not gonna touch that, but we are doing the oil pan. And then I am going to pull this off for peace of mind. I'm going to do the front case and the front main, peace of mind. And then I'm going to, while it's out, I'm going to redo the valve adjustment, check everything. But when I get that vacuum, put those bolts back in, and then go find his fuel rail and all that. So, like I said, we're just swapping everything over, and then anything we're not using from this motor, I'm just gonna throw over here in a pile. So let's get to work. All right, so I just want to document a lot of the stuff. So we got the wire harness off, the whole 9 yards, anything we're not going to be using. I went through and Scotch-Brite the bottom of this guy. And then we will need to take, there should be a bracket somewhere. Should be in there somewhere where we will put the engine dipstick tube. And if there's not, I have a spare one over there. But Scotch-Brite the bottom, we're going through right now. And I'm going to recheck these valves. Make sure that everything's good while it's out and in front of me, because I want to finalize, put the valve cover on that one over there and get everything in, and then slowly start moving things over. The motor mount's going to be next, and then we're going to deal with the back. I want to get everything from the back done, and then the oil pan, well, pretty much everything done to where I can put it in, lift it up in the air, get the oil pan, drain the oil, the whole 9 yards. Just like I said, we're doing the valves now. I have number 6 in overlap, so we're going to do number 1. And I've got a bunch. I've got 2 over on the shelf, right in there somewhere, and then I got 2 more of these right here, so it makes it easier. We're going with 10 thou on the intake, 20 thou on the exhaust. Seems like valve adjustments have been common these past couple weeks. I've done about 10 of them. So let's go through and get them done. Going through and checking stuff out. We just got the valve adjustment done. I just like to double check these things, being that the valve cover's off. I can throw the valve cover back on now. But went through and spun everything over. Rear main is good. It was done by a previous shop. All we're going to do is touch up the cam seal on the old one. But if you guys look, man, this thing, I don't know what the deal is with that, but that thing's been gooping for a while. And then we got all the other stuff. Fun fact, these will bolt right up to every one of your 6.7s, and I'm pretty sure 5.9s, but anything 4th gen, I don't think, actually, yeah, I know the 3rd gens don't come with it, but anything 2010 and up comes with these support brackets back here. I guess it's their way of making it heavier duty. Getting rid of these lines is going to be super easy. You can see this one goes in here. This one comes into the back. So we're still going with that game plan of just running this riser plate, and everything will bolt up. All good. Utilize the sensor here, the back pressure sensor. So all that's all well and good. And I mean, besides that, there's really no point in pulling this off. At least I don't believe there's a reason to. But that goes into the front. I just got to check the head, make sure that there should be 2 riser, or 2. Yep, there it is. Okay, so there's 1, there's 2. So that's exactly what we need. That'll go into the heater core and this one, yeah, from the riser to the heater core. And then this one also goes to the heater core. So that's perfect. Everything will line up. We don't have to change any of this out. And the pile is getting bigger. So, and he did have this in there. Generally, if you guys bring me stuff, I don't like things being apart, but this guy is as close to as perfect as I could possibly get it. All the injectors, injector lines, and push rods were all put into one baggie, labeled 1 through 6. So it made life a little bit easier, but I cannot trust everyone else to be like that. So if you bring me projects, please try to keep it all together. Makes it so much easier when I don't have to sort through stuff, but I will say that this is probably one of the best organizers I've seen. Like, you can see all the boxes. Everything's organized. So nothing negative to say about this guy for doing it. Like I said, there's a box here full of, there's the head bolts. This was its own thing, and there was a couple other little boxes. There's one over there, and then that box was for the valve cover. Like I said, no complaints on that. Just for the rest of you guys, please don't do it. So I've just kind of been doing my thing, letting it go. I had to pull the starter back off to get this bolt here, because it's just being a pain in the ass. And then you have to cut this zip tie to get the back bolt there, but those are all torqued to 18 foot-pounds. This one in here was kind of a bitch, but it is what it is. We got the fuel return line on, goes to the back of the head. I got both the fittings swapped from the other CP3. We got that one in, we got that one in. Just need to swap over this guy, because when I was pulling it off, they all break. This is what they look like. So whoever had this motor prior did one of these, understandable, but I used the good one of this, the good one of this, and then unfortunately when it was popping out, it decided to take the rubber with it. So when this PCM and everything gets swapped over, we'll just swap this guy here. You can see how much longer that piece is. Actually, might even just Might even just be able to take the rubber so we don't got to touch the gasket. So generally when I do these, if we're swapping harnesses, I leave the brackets together, so I'll just take the whole bracket together and move it over there. It might have been a mistake doing the intake horn and putting that on a while, but I just wanted to keep things out of the engine. That was another reason I put the valve cover on. And when this goes back in, you have to lift the cab up a little bit because the oil pan clearance. So what I'll generally do is I'll take the first 6 bolts out and we'll just lift the cab up a little bit. Doesn't need to go far, like maybe 6 inches you'll get in here. And it just makes life so much easier. And then once it's dropped in and in its cradle, then you can put it back down. But everything, these guys here, I got to take this side motor mount off, and then we are going to end up swapping. You can see that's a 3-bolt design, so we are going to have to swap this one over. And I'm pretty sure that I have a gasket in stock for that behind there, but I'll have to check, and if I do, I can get this done tonight. The goal was to get this motor in today, so I'm going to be swapping over the front dampers coming off, pretty much everything on the front of this. I'm even going to take the water pump, just anything that looks better. I'm going to be taking the balancer, like the whole 9 yards, just taking everything I possibly can and just trying to make it look as factory as possible. So anything that came with the truck, because these motors are all identical, but anything that physically came with this truck, I want on this side here. So other than like the sensors, I'm not worried about the sensors as long as they're all the same, but crank, cam, oil pressure sensor. This one we just had to swap the angle. If you can see, it's up like that. It was over that way. Changing this fuel bolt out, rather than having the fuel bowl plug into the head. Little things like that, but it's all coming together the way I want it. It's just weird how these harnesses are. On the 4th gens, it's like a 3-piece harness. First harness is the battery cables, and then the second harness is the right side of the PCM, and then you have the transmission and all that is the other side of the PCM, you can see right here. So unfortunately, they don't give you, you can see right there, you get one plug there, but the rest of the harness is solid the whole way back. And it's not even like you can just unplug the transmission, because I was going to do that. It goes the whole way back, emission system, fuel tank, the whole 9 yards. And then there's a separate bulkhead down here. So unfortunately, like, you see what I mean? I came over here and I unplugged this thinking we needed to, and it's like this didn't even need unplugged. So it's just these 3 wires over here. But it is what it is. We didn't make as much of a mess as I was thinking we would. I'm getting better at keeping my cluster and organization like this. We're not leaking transmission fluid. I was able to catch most of it. I did get a little bit here and there, and then this thing decided to kick over and spill some power steering fluid, but not nearly as crazy of a mess as some of them have gotten. So let's keep getting at it, and we still have not drained the AC, and the goal is to not drain the AC. And to do that, 100% have to swap over. I would have done it regardless, but yeah, so I think all of this is pretty good. I will check and make sure that the riser's the same, so all we'll have to do, if you can see over here, it looks like, oh, they pulled the big bolt out, so I'm going to have to get that's going to suck. I'm going to have to get a gasket for that, because even if you reuse it, if you reuse that gasket there, this one doesn't have it, but if you reuse that O-ring at all, it will 100% leak. Ask me how I know. I've been there, done that. I've even tried the RTV method. Not that you're supposed to do that, but in a pinch, yeah, so we'll have to get an OE gasket for that. But besides that, keep chugging along. All right, so as we put this thing together, look how nice this is coming together. We got the wire harness here. Everything's run like it would be from the factory. The only thing I'd like to do is maybe put a clip from here to the dipstick tube, but besides that, this plugs in back here. All the factory clips are in. I loosened this up and retorqued it so that I could plug that in. And then we'll come over here. We got this guy. You can see it goes down to the bottom. We replaced that. We got the factory clips in there. This is in. All the fuel lines are in. And now we're slowly working on over here. So figuring this out. And then I just replaced this guy. You can see somewhere over there. Just replaced this with the 4th gen style one, We'll have to pull this off to put the belt back on, but actually we'll also have to pull it back off to do the front case. So everything's pretty much done on the valve adjustment and that. So we need to swap out, and I just threw it somewhere, this guy. Now, if we reuse this, you can see how there's a piece in there. That would mean that it wants to reuse the other style. And if we were to reuse that other style one, wherever I threw it, wherever it went, it pretty much throws the coolant. There's a coolant route that comes back here. And we are trying to do away with that to make it a little bit simpler. So we reuse this style. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a measurement here and just cut the factory one. And it'll just go in, clip like this. It gets rid of a hell of a lot of mess. If you guys look up here, like this is the mess that you have to finagle with the 2010 plus trucks. You have this little bracket here that goes to the exhaust, and then another bigger bracket that holds that in there. And it just, all in all, is a janky setup. Literally just cut that, go to the old style, and it doesn't matter. All of these are all transferable throughout the years. It's not like he's gonna go to the auto parts store and be like, oh, I need this specific. There's nothing in here specific to it except maybe these boots. That's about it. But you can also go and get the riser delete and this and that from Amazon. So just to clean it up, make it simpler, make it a little bit more reliable of a setup, that and this O-ring down here. To replace this O-ring, if that ever goes out, you got to pull this whole janky piece out, and it's a pain in the ass. So if he ever has to do it in the future, it's one bolt right here, and you just pop it out of the way and drop it straight down. Maybe get the oil filter out of the way, but seriously makes it so much easier. Motor mounts are swapped out. I haven't done it yet, and as long as I remember, usually what I'll do is I'll put anti-seize on these, because what happens is you'll go, right, here's one. I had to beat the crap out of this one to get it to move, and some of them seize permanently in there. Like this one over here, that thing's not moving. So, throw that over into the pile. Other than that, I mean, it's coming together nicely. Just got a couple more little odds and ends. I know there's a wire harness that comes up here. I actually think it's the grid heater harness, so we'll just ignore that for now. One goes here. There's a second harness somewhere along the lines. But if this just routes back behind, and then there's a couple of clips down here. There's a ground right here. I left everything together, and then this goes to the VGT. This will go to, one of these go to the AC, and a couple other little odds and ends over on this side. And then rather than putting his manifold back on, this thing's probably warped anyway, and a lot of chunks and pieces went through. We're just gonna leave this manifold in place, and then I just gotta replace these gaskets here and take his delete plate and pop it up here, but they are exactly the same. Tighten all that stuff up. And yeah, I mean, we're getting there. We're pretty damn close to putting this thing in. Once everything is together, like I was saying, up in the air, drop the oil pan. We'll quick swap out everything in there. I'll get this on this video, and then voila, throw it in here. This is gonna be the bitch right here. Routing this, because you have to route this back through in here and then run it down along and get it to plug in. You can see right here is one of the wires for it. And don't mix these up. I'm pretty sure that you can plug those into the wrong ones. So don't do that. All right, so I can confidently say at this point we are definitely not going to get it in tonight. It's about 10:50. I don't know how much further I'm going to go, but we got the whole front case, everything cleaned up. And we got the front cover cleaned up as well. So this thing is ready to take some RTV. And unfortunately, they do make gaskets for them, but it's not something you really ever use. These are 100% of the time, or at least 99% of the time, we just RTV them. But I'm over here looking at this, and I'm like, you know, let me come over here. Look at this front main seal. This is the wear sleeve, and somebody beat it on with a hammer. That's interesting. Never seen that done before, but it is what it is. I'm gonna try to get this one removed and install a new wear sleeve, because I just don't like, I don't like that. The tool is not expensive, and you literally just run it in. You don't need to bash this thing in with a hammer. Plus, I don't know. If I'm gonna put my name on it, is definitely getting pulled out and done correctly, because that is kind of bullshit. And this was done from a previous shop, and I'll tell you, yes, you RTV them, but this shop, I'm not going to mention names because I called them before to ask them some questions about a previous setup and never really got back to me, but this is an insane amount of RTV to be sitting on the inside. So I don't like that. You don't need that much RTV. All right, nice little thin layer of it. Hit it on about 5 foot-pounds, let it dry, and then 18 foot-pounds to finish it off. I'm probably just going to end this video here because this video is already super long at this point. So the next video you see will be this going in, and this is the pile of do not use parts. So yeah, the do not use pile. But yeah, so other than that, we just used mainly all of the good stuff, and I did end up pulling the manifold off because for some reason on this other manifold, somebody went and welded this guy on here, and then when you go to tighten this down on top of it, it's stripped. So we're just going to use this manifold here, and then this is how it's supposed to be. It goes in there. So we'll do that, and then I don't got to buy the EGR gasket, but I still got to buy I will have to buy manifold gaskets and a turbo mounting kit when we put the new one on. But I want to put this engine in without the turbo. That way I can just get right to the torque converter bolts. Makes my life super easy and don't have to worry about any of that crap. So it's so much easier when you can, especially on these cabin chassis trucks, because getting specifically to right here on a cabin chassis truck, there is not much room. So it just makes so much more sense to sit here and just hit it from right here. And then I can spin the motor from the front and physically see it without the manifold being there. And then I'll just install the manifold and the turbo all as one. Actually, what I'll probably do is I'll put the turbo in first and get these bolts, all that stuff. And then, yeah, it's just so much easier. Then put the manifold in, torque everything down. You can get the back bolt from the bottom and then the top from up here, and then probably have this front end on by Monday. So I'd like this thing to be running and driving by Monday. So this is probably about a 3-day project. If you guys need anything, cpstevemiller.com.